heroin.
In the end, it controls you.
I see low self-esteem. You see track marks, I see depression.
It's the mental pain that hurts the worst.
You see a junkie, I see someone's son.
I'm hurt now, believe in that. I'm hurt.
You see a prostitute, I see someone's daughter caught in addiction.
First thing I do in the morning is thank God for waking me up.
You see self-centeredness, I see the disease.
I put everybody in danger around my family. I put them all in pain when I do it. It's just not, it ain't fun no more.
I'm Tiny Heron Markwell. When I was born, my dad was a preacher of a little church down here on 2nd and College Street. Never really had a large congregation, but the doors were always open. There was always people coming through the doors of the church that needed clothing or food. From a really early age, I learned what addiction was and what prostitution was, but I was taught to love them and not shun them.
Known as Tiny, her heart is huge. She founded the Forgotten Louisville 14 years ago.
I called it the Forgotten Louisville because we are a city full of resources, but for whatever reason, they don't get tapped into like they should. So when I first started doing outreach, the biggest problem that I saw here, anything with addiction, was mostly alcoholism.
Now, drugs dominate the population she serves to save.
I always stop and say we're going to do pulse checks, and I just stop and make sure I get a response.
Narcan, a necessity.
All of us carry Narcan now.
Just one dose can bring users back from the dead.
When someone is new to the streets and you know what's out here, and it's like you want to swoop them up as fast as you can before the streets eat them alive. Because 9 times out of 10, they're going to get offered some drugs, or they're going to get approached to sell or be the mule or the middleman. And we see that happen a lot too.
We're on our way back to M Street right now, which is an area that Tiny, our homeless outreach volunteer, serves often. Tiny took our team to a corner of town with a reputation.
Heavy drug use, prostitution, trafficking, homelessness, domestic violence, and lack of services.
We walked the streets with her. We wanted to see what she saw. Nestled in a neighborhood between Churchill Downs and U of L, M Street is home to dozens of homeless.
It has a reputation to be riddled with drugs, so I don't know if that keeps people away from the area. But for our team, that's a draw into the area because we want to get in there and do what we can. And there's areas like this all over the city.
Here, she introduced us to Jennifer.
I used to shoot up, as you can see. I used to shoot heroin.
Jennifer is 5 years sober.
It's been hard because, you know, there's a lot of drugs around here. There's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of heroin that goes around here, and there's a lot of people dying from it, and it's really, really sad.
She still struggles to find stability. She and her fiance are homeless.
We come over here, we pitch our tent, we make our beds for the night, we go to sleep, we get up the next morning, I come in here, I start my job at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm here till 1. My fiance goes to work at 1. And he comes home, he helps me do what I gotta do, and start over the next day. That's all we can do. Just take it slow day by day.
Is it difficult to stay away from heroin when it surrounds you?
You just have to have the willpower. I think it's all about the willpower, and you have to have the willpower to change.
But the choice to change can be hard to make.
If I'm not ready to put it down, I'm not going to.
And on these streets, buying is easier than ever.
If you want drugs, believe if a junkie wants drugs, they're gonna get them. I ain't gonna lie, I'll probably spend about $40, $45 a day on it. And how I get my money, panhandle, fly sign, however I can, you know what I'm saying?
Robberies, tricking, I mean, it doesn't matter. It will make you do anything. It'll make you rob your grandmother.
Everyone here has a story.
You know, it's survival of the fittest out here. It's every man for himself out here.
A beginning.
I got shot in my face when I was 12, and I had to take migraine medicine. And when you're pregnant, you can't take migraine medicine, so he had to give me pain pills. One day I couldn't stand none, and I asked my cousin, what does heroin make you feel like? She said like 10 Lord Tab 10s, and that's all she had to tell me.
A middle.
I've been a drug addict for 17 years. I watched my mom pass away. I watched my dad pass away from alcohol. I'm slowly watching my friends pass away too.
And an end.
Most people that do heroin, they want that relaxation feel, they want that painkiller feel.
We toss people aside too easy without seeing the human being behind the mask.
Some are masking the past.
Yeah, I don't like dealing with pain, and that's the way for me to cover it up is with drugs.
Others are masking the fear.
I just can't put myself through a sitting in a waiting room for 5 hours, just getting sick. I'm scared of the withdrawal.
Sometimes, masking is easier than facing the future.
So what I'm doing now is I'm digging a hole so damn deep, man, but I'm crawling up out of it, so all right.
But a path to progress isn't a straight shot. So Tiny's team turns to something else.
I think this time I got 100.
Harm reduction.
Some people don't feel okay about harm reduction. Harm reduction to me is supporting the needle exchange program and talking about using together, don't use alone, and do you have Narcan, and do you know how to administer Narcan?
I've registered for the needle exchange myself, and I go in there and they ask me how many times a day I shoot up, and I tell them 15 times a day so that I can bring clean needles out here for these guys to access.
This volunteer is years into her own sobriety, but she remembers using with a dirty needle.
That was one of the last things that I did, was dig through a garbage can of a house of people that I knew were shooting dope and get a dirty needle out of their garbage can. I ran bathroom cleaner through it because I thought that would kill all the infection. Sharpened it on the concrete and shot it with it.
It's the dirty reality, and sometimes it's followed by a realization.
Because when somebody comes to you and says, I want help now, you've got to act now. You have to act now.
Tiny takes people to detox. She finds them sober living solutions. She follows them through the process. She fights for their future.
You're not forgotten. You are loved.
She fights for Todd.
So Todd is my husband.
Tiny and Todd shared a love story like the ones you read about.
And he and I we had a connection from the minute. We love the same type of people. We love the same way. We had just gotten married in August. Like we were in the best time of our life. He had a great job. So it rocked my world in a way that you can't even put it into words.
Todd was a recovering addict. He had 5 years of sobriety. He also had back pain. And at the end of last year, a doctor sent him home with prescription drugs.
I wasn't ignorant to the fact that it could happen. I always lived on high alert, but I had just gotten very comfortable as well.
In December of 2018, Todd relapsed.
I did a phone call. I was about 45 minutes outside of Louisville that his mother had found him.
Todd did what's called a test shot of heroin. Tiny says his autopsy showed that test shot was all fentanyl. Todd's memory lives on through Tiny's touch.
There is so much shame and guilt with the stigma of addiction that people are afraid to talk about it. And I didn't dare want my husband's legacy or life to be tarnished that way.
His memory, her mission.
You see the end, I see the beginning.
Their battle,
you see a dope fiend, I see a future success story.
our war.
You see them and I see me.